being pulled by the leg, thrown into the pool, or being completely taken over. The paranormal goes far beyond just slamming doors. And these chilling clips prove it. So tune in to see the scariest of encounters where the limits are crossed just when you'd think you have seen enough. A group of friends was enjoying a private pool party, capturing the fun with photos and videos to remember the night. At the time, everything seemed normal, just laughter, splashes, and good company. But later, while reviewing one of the videos, they spotted something chilling. Behind them, near the edge of the frame, stood a dark figure none of them remembered seeing. It had long, black hair and a pale, eerie appearance strikingly similar to the girl from The Ring. The realization left them astonished. Whatever it was, it had been there with them the whole time, silently watching. Fishermen ambushed. A young man from Turkey, passionate about fishing, spent a night at Satoran Dam with a camera to document his experience. As the night went on, he sensed something strange and saw a ghostly figure near the water. It wasn't a fish, but a pale, floating spirit with hollow eyes. Paralyzed by fear, he lit a flame stick, which startled the ghost long enough for him to escape. He left the area and never returned. Days later, another fisherman claimed to see the same ghost, this time in daylight. Demon in person? While hanging out on the green, a group of friends decided to film some light-hearted moments on a mobile phone. As they reviewed the footage, something unsettling caught their attention.
What was that?
Can you see that there?
A pale face staring out from the window of a room in the nearby building. The room they knew had been locked and unused for some time. The bar manager agreed to take them upstairs to investigate.
Have we seen him? He was up there?
I've got it on film.
This room's locked, guys. It's been locked.
When they reached the room, it was exactly as expected. Empty, untouched, and still locked from the outside. The face they had seen looked eerily human, and at first glance, some even thought it resembled someone possessed.
Oh my days, that was creepy.
Wait, what was that?
Pulled into pool. A Malaysian girl was enjoying a pool party with her siblings and friends when she suddenly felt her hair being yanked underwater. At first, she assumed someone was playing a prank, but the grip was forceful and came out of nowhere. The moment lasted only a few seconds, and she quickly brushed it off. However, later that day, while reviewing footage from the party, she was shocked to see that no one had been behind her when it happened. That's when she realized something unseen had tried to pull her under. Possessed while pool cleaning. A homeowner who, after not being able to sleep at night, started cleaning his pool when something terrifying happened next. A shadow figure can be seen suddenly appearing next to him before the man looks as if he were either getting possessed or was already possessed. At this moment, with the man screaming in the process, he woke up and got the attention of his daughter, who attempted to step in and help. As the situation worsened and seemed hopeless, the girl left out of concern for her safety. Witchcrafting or paranormal? This woman, who was busy serving dinner, suddenly had her hair pulled from behind, which dropped her to the ground. Being a lone woman is what left her terrified, so she started looking around in panic for a possible intruder. Now, even though she was not able to find it at first, but later when she reviewed this footage and noticed a glowing set of eyes, either of a witch or some supernatural entity that appeared in a physical form. Possessed in supermarket. A man entered a small grocery store late in the evening and walked toward the refrigerated section. As he neared the glass doors, CCTV footage captured him suddenly jerking and convulsing as if possessed by an unseen force. Moments later, a ghostly reflection appeared in the fridge door. No one else was nearby. Items on the shelves began to shift and fall. Toward the end of the footage, the man pointed toward a stack of toilet rolls, which toppled over on their own. The scene lasted less than a minute, but left staff and viewers convinced something truly paranormal had occurred. Haunted house nightmare. A team of paranormal investigators set out to explore an abandoned farmhouse, long rumored to hold a dark and violent history. As they moved cautiously through the dusty, decaying corridors, tension hung thick in the air.
Yeah, so we're gonna go.
Just be careful there,
Keep this
guys.
hole in the wall, just down here.
Without warning, one of the women in the group was aggressively pulled into a side room by an unseen force, while the door slammed shut immediately after. Panic set in as the men with her scrambled to force the door open, which seemed to be held tightly by the very paranormal entity. After several desperate moments, they finally burst into the room only to find her collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath and clawing at her throat.
Guys, the camera's still rolling. I hope you've got everything on camera. Oh, what happened then?
Boyfriend ambushed. A young man was visiting his girlfriend's house one evening. While waiting for her to get ready, he decided to spend some time on the computer in her room. A security camera in the room captured something terrifying. Without warning, an unseen force grabbed him by the neck and yanked him backward, sending him into a panic. Moments later, the entire room seemed to come alive with chaos. The ground shook violently, and objects from shelves and tables began crashing down around him. Out of concern for his safety, he sprinted away from the room. Terrorizing invisible force. Till now, abduction was just a thing of aliens or kidnappers, but now, even of paranormal entities. Security camera footage outside a bar in Florida shows a man stepping out for a smoke while on a call. Suddenly, something unseen grabs him from behind and yanks him by the leg with great force, causing him to drop what he was carrying. A bystander runs over to help, but is struck hard by an invisible force and quickly retreats into the bar. Moments later, the invisible entity drags the man briefly before violently throwing him back inside the bar. Troubled Girls episode. This little girl, who was watching TV, suddenly started climbing up the corner of the wall. She was first seen getting up until the camera glitched for a second, and then she can be seen up the corner wall. The parents of the girl claimed she never behaved like this, citing the possibility of her being possessed. After all, paranormal entities only tend to do something like this when confronted. Stalking ghosts take over. One evening, a young man was walking down a quiet hallway when he began to sense an unsettling presence behind him. Though he could see nothing when he turned to look, the feeling of being followed only intensified. CCTV footage later revealed a dark, shadowy figure appeared several meters behind him, barely visible, yet undeniably there. As the boy stood frozen, the entity suddenly surged forward, either passing through him or possessing him in an instant. He immediately collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Bar ghost. If there's any paranormal activity at the bar, it's most likely the restless spirit of a deceased alcoholic. A bartender shared this clip on social media showing that almost every time, as she would be making a drink, something would snatch the bottle from her grasp. This happened several times in a row just a day after she installed a camera to capture the proof. Many of the viewers believe this was some kind of trip in play, but if you see the expression and reaction of the woman, it says it all. Awakened graveyard spirits. A gravedigger who was just about done for the day and was leaving when he spotted multiple shadow entities that suddenly appeared. Now, since it was late and he was sure that these weren't some visitors, it was what made it concerning, which he started filming on his camera.
There's nothing here except for what's happening up there. There is nobody throughout this graveyard.
Within minutes, these figures could be seen walking away before disappearing completely. Could these have been ghosts or spirits of the dead? Well, No one knows.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Dragged away by ghost. A boy who was passing through the hallway of a recently built home in excitement to explore. Then this happened. A shadowy figure appeared out of the blue as it was dragging the boy back to his point of entrance. Now it is unknown if the recently built home has quickly turned into a haunted house, or perhaps this was just some random paranormal activity, with the boy being at the wrong place and at the wrong time. Pushed off roof. Among all the violent things that you may expect from paranormal beings, this isn't something you'd have seen coming. A CCTV camera caught a unique moment, showing the moment when a boy walking on the roof of a single-story house was suddenly pushed. In the footage, a shadowy figure appeared, mostly translucent, who, with a strong jerk, pushed the boy forward, placing him in the blind spot of the camera before he fell. Although the boy was safe, this act was the most violent on the part of the paranormal entity. Tossed across the street. Seeing something like this, you'd know that it's not just the vehicles that you have to look out for, but also the invisible life forms. A traffic police camera that was pointed at an angle on a street in Portugal captured the brief moment when a pedestrian who was crossing the road until a supernatural force suddenly grabbed him and tossed across the street. Now, although he came out unscathed by the sudden and random nature of the situation, is what got him more in fear and worry. Yanked by ghost. This video comes from the owner of a store in Mexico, where one of his employees, while checking up on the inventory, suddenly had one of her legs pulled and she was dragged across the floor. As soon as she broke free, she started running for her life. Which is when the owner stepped in and later reviewed the footage. According to him, the store itself has a history of strange occurrences, some of which are disturbing. However, this is by far the most worrisome thing that has happened. Hostel ghost. A woman in a girls' hostel was just about done brushing her teeth and getting ready for bed when she unknowingly got in its way. It didn't respond kindly as it pushed her on the back with a strong jerk, which immediately alarmed her. Interestingly, she didn't bother much and went away, almost as if she knew about the paranormal presence. And this wasn't the first time. Little girl's interaction. A little girl, while being home alone, was caught on camera as she was interacting with an invisible figure. She can be seen offering it a box of candies just when her arm was pulled by the anonymous entity. Seconds later, she was let go. But the invisible entity grabbed onto the other box that she was holding. Her parents, later upon reviewing the footage, were shocked by the incident, considering that things could have gone far worse. Haunted apartment lobby. As a man was returning to his apartment late at night, the dimly lit hallway seemed empty until a shadowy figure suddenly lunged from around the corner, as if it had been waiting for him. It grabbed his leg, pulling him off his feet before putting him against the wall. Before he could react, the figure began dragging him down the hall. Security footage later showed the man struggling and eventually breaking free, escaping by sprinting away. But the dark figure didn't follow. Similarly, another tenant who was heading out of his apartment until he too was caught in surprise, as a shadowy entity grabbed his leg and pulled him down before starting to drag as well. Being terrified by its sheer force and the sudden surprise of it all, he quickly gets up and starts running in the opposite direction in hopes of escaping it. Doorbell camera abduction.
And walks out of a house, and in an instant, it looks like he's beamed up to outer space.
A doorbell camera in Porter, Texas, captured a bizarre moment when a man appeared to vanish into thin air. The footage shows Larry Lewis, a Houston resident, stepping out of his home and walking down the sidewalk when, in a sudden flash of light, he seemingly disappears, almost as if beamed into the night sky. The homeowner didn't offer much of an explanation other than this being a camera glitch, but couldn't ignore how much it resembled an alien abduction or even the rapture. When he was asked where he went, he joked, "I can't talk about that right now."
Were you abducted?
I made sure that, I got back home for dinner.
Where were you?
I can't talk about it right now.
Demon possession in progress. A young man from a village in Kerala, India, could be seen walking in an open lawn, where seconds later, a shadow of a ghost or a demon appears, closing in on the man before it can be seen disappearing into the man and taking over before the clip ends. Wandering spirit. One night, a man reviewing footage from his front yard noticed something strange, a shadowy, human-like figure slowly drifting down the street. It moved directly toward his neighbor's house and, without pause, passed straight through the closed front door. From that moment on, the neighbors began experiencing eerie disturbances. Flickering lights, strange noises, and unexplained shadows. The once quiet home turned into a place of fear and confusion. Whatever the figure was, it hadn't just appeared, it had entered, and seemingly decided to stay. The chilling truth was clear. Something otherworldly had made itself at home, and no one knew for how long. Ghost follows couple. A couple who were leaving from a parking garage in Mexico, where a security camera caught a visible shadow of an entity that was following them. Despite having closed in on both of them, it kept on following, leaving its intentions unclear. Now, judging from the build here, neither of them was able to see that they were being followed, with the ghost either confused about who to possess, or just maybe waiting for the perfect moment. Trailing silhouette. A construction worker who was on a break while working at a high-rise building noticed a man whom he attempted to identify by zooming in on his camera. Interestingly, as he turned on his camera, noticed something odd. He initially thought it was the man's shadow, until he quickly realized it wasn't the case. The man kept on recording the trailing silhouette, thinking it to be anything from the Grim Reaper, a ghost to a demon. Haunted bathroom. This footage was taken from a boys' hostel in Mumbai, India, showing the moment where a boy, who while leaving the bathroom, was confronted by a ghost. It appeared from behind him, appearing as a shadow in the camera as it pushed the boy hard. Now, judging by the body language of the boy, it is clear that he didn't know that the bathroom was haunted, and this is rather something quite random. Night guard's nightmare. A released security camera footage showed the moment when one of the night guards claimed to encounter an elderly lady who needed assistance, but wasn't visible on the camera. The guard later shared that he was helping the old lady get to the elevator. At this moment, the guard in the surveillance room managed to understand the situation and communicate with the front door guard. Upon the front door guard's realization that he may be talking to a supernatural entity or even a demon that wasn't visible on camera, he quickly ran as far away as he possibly could. Hiker jumped. A surveillance camera that was installed on a hiking trail in India for safety captured a concerning moment. It showed a hiker who was struck by a silhouette of a supernatural entity that appeared suddenly, visible only on the camera. The victim shared that he was even kicked once after being put on the ground, where he immediately got up and fled the area. Knocked unconscious. Of all the intruders, a ghost or a spirit has to be the most terrifying one, considering they are invisible and much superior in strength. A mall guard who was making routine patrols after hearing some disturbance started looking around a spot with his flashlight. Within seconds, the guard was pulled first towards the wall hard and then towards the ground. At this point, he radioed in for help from other guards only seconds before he was knocked unconscious. Additional help arrived soon after to lend a hand. Abducting evil spirit. A young mother who was attending to her toddler in the cradle until something strong and invisible grabbed both of her legs, pulling her from the room towards the stairs.
Oh God, please! Let go of me!
Then it let her sprint back towards the room before once again taking her down through the stairs and out of her own house. She returned an hour later, but didn't look to be herself, presumably as she may have been taken over. Open discussion. This picture and video were taken at a hotel in Bangkok, Thailand, showing the moment where a group of friends who were enjoying their summer break in the pool, where a dark, spooky figure seemed to be surveilling them. It wasn't until the black figure passed by a small bush that one of them spotted it and immediately alarmed their friends. Before the group could come out and investigate, it had already disappeared, leaving its nature a complete mystery. What do you think this could have been?